how less of a good hero it is than it used to be. It wasn't even the most recent patch. I think it was 7.28 or anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is that the hero is not good enough, John. I'm not sure how it's going to go here with Pecado Squad Gaming. I'm sure they know how to run it, but in pub games, it feels a little bit lackluster.
Yeah, its timings are kind of weird. The utility you get from Enfeeble, you have to invest in it now if you want to spam it out. The cooldown scaling is kind of ridiculous. It goes from 28, 21, -7 per level, all the way down to 7 seconds. So initial laning, initial fights with Enfeeble, if you're going for the healing reduction, is kind of lame. The Aetherlance nerfs kind of hurt Bane. The talent changes as well for cast range kind of hurts Bane. So you get less of that ridiculous range with a grip. It's still, I think, really good if you want to just counter out the Pango without committing for something like, say, the Grimstroke and relegating it to a 5, going with the Tusk 4. Bane on the 5 is a little bit more solid. Of course, you can still run Bane 4, Tusk 5 instead. Flexibility on hand there. But Eboys, even though their Pangoliers countered out, they do manage to go into the Nature's Prophet. So it looks like we might have a situation where actually any of these 3 cores could be a support pick on the pause 4. Gyro 4, Pango 4, or NP 4 could come out, leaning more towards probably the Pango 4, as we've seen that a little bit more often than the other 2 heroes. And it just means that the counter pick Bane is a counter pick for a support. So you're taking away some of the impact of the Bane pickup and trying to remove some of that weakness in the Pango, because you're not going to completely rely on the Pangolier to get the rolls off, to get his damage off. Of course, it's still not ideal to have your Pangolier controlled up, but at least it's just a support role that's being held in place now instead of a core.
Fair enough. But you do have that flexibility at least, right? Like you can, decide who you want to use all these spells on. As Spectre comes out for Pecado, this hero, this Spectre hero, I'm not sure about it, John. I mean, I feel like we saw it the other day. I can't remember what region it was we saw it in, but it felt very weak. Against the Gyro, do you like it? It feels kind of nice into the Gyro, I guess, because you can haunt right in to the Gyrocopter and not let him abuse that range in the flat cannon, but at the same time, it feels like it takes a very long time to get the hero up and running.
It really does. Like, we still see the Blade Mail rush, then you start clearing out some camps, some stacks, built up ancient stacks, melt to the Blade Mail reflect, but you also kind of melt, so you have to be careful with your HP. Spectre's an awkward one. I think the timings of the hero are just not completely in line with how the meta works. It's still really slow. Blade Mail timing even feels relatively slow. Laning phase is not that strong for Spectre, although there's some potency here with a Bane or a Tusk. So maybe you can kind of work that out, but I think Eboys right now are feeling a lot stronger. They've got tighter pacing with the Gyrocopter and NP so far. They've got some really good timings to hit. They can push very fast with Warlock and NP and Gyrocopter. For Pecado Squad Gaming, it's mainly the DP Exorcism that allows them to push. And outside of that, their supports don't really melt towers. The Spectre doesn't really melt towers until items are up. So pacing is definitely a bit slower for PSG, but, there's been some talk about who's the better team. PSG, of course, they did just beat out, again, 5-man Midas, which was an upper div team. So
right.
They're showing us that going through opens and going through close, they are actually fairly strong as a stack. And if you're the stronger team, then you can make these sort of slower heroes work to your pace. We just need to see something to tie it up to match some of the aggression Eboys wants in its last pick.
We'll find out very soon. This final pickup here for PSG. They've got 56 seconds reserve time to think about it if they so wish. They won't, though. They will pick up the Storm. I'm going to say there's actually a lot of ways to catch people out here. Like, you've got Haunt and Zip available. I mean, I was questioning the Bane pick. I was questioning the Spectre pick a little bit. But when you look at it up against what Electronic Boys have going for themselves right now with their own draft, it does seem like PSG have all the answers already. It's just a matter of getting the farm up on these heroes to make them effective. But honestly, so far it's looking pretty good. Electronic Boys, they'll respond with a Tiny. I don't know about it, John. I do feel like even though I was talking a little bit of smack about the Bane pick, a little bit of smack about the Spectre pick, I do feel like they came out with a stronger draft in the end.
Yeah, they've got the solutions to jump the gyrocopter. Speed's going to have to be very careful with his positioning. His supports need to be ready to bail him out. The issue is you don't have saving supports on the side of Eboys. You've got a Pango and Warlock here. So you don't have something like the Aphotic Shield to purge off a Storm Silencer, to break off the grip from a Bane. You don't have something like an LC on your off lane to help you out there as well. So you're always vulnerable as this gyrocopter until the BKB comes out. And once the BKB comes out, the Bane has a very big target to go for. So it's all down to how well Speed can get his positioning. The Tiny last pick for Eboys up against a Storm. We've seen mid-Tiny against Storm Spirit. We've seen it go both ways. It's really down to how far each player can push it, especially with Water Runes and Bounty Runes as they are now. The Tiny can get a little bit more value if he gets his bottle topped up every single time, just because Storm without the zip is not as potent yet. Until maybe level 5 you can do something once the support rotates in. So it's important for Eboys to secure that early start for the Tiny and try to work the best out here. Once you get into the mid game, they do have a little bit more potency while the Storm's trying to farm Orchid and the Spectre's farming beyond Blade Mail. You will want to abuse that on the side of Eboys and play a lot faster here.
Absolutely. We'll get into it, John. Game number 1 between these two teams. So you can take out this this best of 3 series. And well, for Eboys, obviously with their draft, they're not wanting to go too late into this game. They're going to want to try and just snowball throughout the mid game and try to finish this one off early. For PSG, they can go very late if they so wish. As late as they want, really, with this Spectre Storm. I mean, hell, even the Bane does do quite well in the later stages of the game. Just kind of scales very nicely. It's that early game that kind of feels bad now, but let's see how it all pans out, as we do have a 5-man spoke here from PSG. What's being placed? It's going to be about it for now. I mean, the Electronic Boys, they're hanging around the other side of the map. Looks like neither one's really going to run into each other. PSG, they are waiting on the high ground, but it looks like it's going to lead to absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's still a really nice forward ward just on top of this Radiant Obs ward. So they're going to be spotted now going for that movement. And that should maybe signal they managed to do a ward run. I don't think they're quite ready with a sentry. They do have one on Albino Zebra, but he might just use that to secure his small camp. So lots of good vision coming out here down mid. Good amount of rotations that can come out for both sides. Even Bounty Rune trade in the end as well, just going for a 2-2. No spicy starts here so far, so we get to see the lanes break out. Duffy is going to be playing that DP here in the offlane along with WDR on the Tusk. Fairly potent dual lane. Once you get level 2, level 3 up, you can get Spirit Siphon spam, you can get Crypt Swarm damage on, tag team, and shards to block. Can make it hard for Speed to find that position to get out. He's got to be a bit careful. We've seen Warlocks here early on just not have that big impact, and you've got a great heal with Shadow Word. It can be good harass. Against a DP, you're not really going to harass her out with that, mainly because of your sustain coming out from Spirit Siphon. You could try to harass out the Tusk, but the aggression here for the side of Eboys isn't as amazing, although they do go for the Bonds level 1, so they're just trying to get the farm up for speed. Again, it plays really well with Gyrocopter. With the flak, you're just bouncing damage everywhere, and Duffy does take a significant amount of damage there at the start.
That's actually a fun little combination we didn't really mention at all, but the the Fatal Bonds Flak Cannon, you saw how much damage it just did to the poor DP. It was quite substantial. Nevertheless, mid lane, of course, P1 is going to be up against Red 2. Feels like the Storm should be favored in this lane, but I suppose it can go either way. For now, they'll obviously just be evenly trading, but top lane, well, there was a very low HP Pango, AA. He's going to back off. Giant still looking pretty healthy. AA might need to back off and get a salve. Looks like he's just going to try and heal up with the Tangos for now, but he's going to be left quite low.
And this is a really scary lane, actually, for the side of PSG. You have to respect the NP with the Blightstone and the Pango with the Orb Venom. You're getting a lot of value harassment coming out here. and right-click trades as long as you target the same hero here on these two heroes. Sensibility on the Bane and QQQ on the Spectre are going to have to be a bit cautious. This is a much more passive lane for them, simply because Spectre as a laning partner doesn't do much. The Bane can try to set up and try to prevent some movements out with Nightmare and try to trade with Brain Sap, but you aren't really going to be lining up for some aggressive movements here. Just the nature of the Spectre. It just wants to sit back and farm, and this is something Eboys can try to abuse. You're seeing that forward positioning from AA, just contesting the pulse, getting his EXP going, and for the most part, EXP distribution here from Eboys has been pretty darn good. Level 3 up in AA, has level 2 swash up. Once the levels start coming in, the right-click damage with Giant can start to escalate if you're not careful.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, Giant's doing a great job as well of just denying so many creeps away. Q currently sitting at 6-1. It's been 9 denies already from Giant on the Prophet. Just making this the Spectre feel kind of bad in this lane. So Giant is going to TP back to the fountain for a reset anyway, but of course he can abuse his own teleportation. So he'll be back at any moment. Not really much in the way of stopping the NP in that matter. So every lane going pretty evenly so far, apart from maybe that top lane where Spectre is struggling a bit. Mid lane, a Vortex out from P1. And the touch is there with the tag team. Red, he's gonna die. Nice little rotation out from WDR, and well, P1, even without the rotation, may have had the kill.
Yeah, it's just down to how much value they're getting from this ward. It just allows their aggressive supports to rotate. The Tusk is just a lot better in going around the map, whereas for E-Boys, I mean, you can try rotating your Warlock. Doesn't sound amazing. Pango might be a bit more impactful, but you're kind of stuck up top trying to slow down Spectre. So there's more opportunities for PSG to be aggressive. They get their bottle topped up here for P1, and you're pretty much set here as the Storm. You're still even in terms of last hits, but having that kill does mean you're going to hit level 5 a bit faster, which also means you hit your level 6 spike faster, and that is where the Storm really starts to get a bit ridiculous. So E-Boys might want to consider maybe damping out the Storm a bit if they manage to get a rotation out.
Well, Sensibility. Bit of damage on the Bane. He's going to be able to back off, though. I do like the fact that Sensibility actually went for the level 1 Nightmare back when he was level 1, because AA's been disarming him non-stop with that lucky shot. So just being able to Nightmare up the Pango and just keep hitting him without the risk of being disabled like that, or rather disarmed, as now he goes in again. AA, he's gone. Sensibility with the level 2 Brain Sap gets the job done.
Yeah, you can't really trade like that. This is Pango. Like, seeing a pretty greedy build-up here from AA, just opting to bypass a lot of laning regen or even a nice stick to get some burst regen on hand, trying to rush that Orb of Corrosion. Does buy out 2 sets of tangos now, but you'd much rather have that earlier on. And Sensibility just manages to abuse that lack of regen. You don't really want to trade against a Bane like this.
WDR's here now. They want to make him have the walk of shame here, AA. No, they're going to avoid him. They'll go after Giant instead. Giant, oh, there's your tag team out. They should have enough damage and control. WDR is level 3, but has the skill port saved, and eventually he will go for the snowball just to make sure they can get the kill. No playing around here for PSGs. They'll get their 3rd kill of the map. Well, WDR, he's going right back into the mid lane now.
And it's just down to these support picks. Like, it's so much more aggressive coming out from Pecado here. They've just got a lot of presence early on, got a lot of damage. You can't expect much from Pango. Maybe once you've got the Orb of Corrosion, that trade gets a little bit better. You also lose out in the regen rune here for Red. It is given to WDR, not the Storm, but you don't really mind too much. You're just trying to stop this Tiny from having too much of a good time. Very even still in last hits, but you've already started to rotate into the jungle for P1, and he has his level 6. So if he sees the opportunity, he might just go for a side lane rotation with a zip, and E-Boys just, again, don't have any way of saving. They don't have a Tusk on their side. They don't have the Abaddon to pad it out. They are going to fall really fast to the aggression from PSG if they're not careful.
Good news is Speed is farming very well down at the bot lane. 41-9 on the Gyrocopter right now. Hasn't suffered a death. Just been freely farming up, and Duffy hasn't been able to slow him down whatsoever on the DP. Definitely good news for E-Boys on that front. Like, the Albino Zebra has just left him alone now, just feeling so confident in the gyrocopter being able to stay alive by himself. But as I say that, there is going to be a zip in from P1. Oh, Speed, he's going to try and survive. In fact, he'll turn around now with the call down and the avalanche in from Red. It's going to be enough to kill P1 and Duffy. They do get Speed in the end, but 2 core heroes going down for that. I think you've got to be happy if you're Eboys.
Definitely. It's a pretty good turnaround. They underestimate the gyrocopter's damage output. You have to respect that. Like, you dive a gyro under the tier 1, no creep wave to cop. Someone whose spell uses as well means to just melt, although they are making moves top.
Yeah, Giant should fall here to Q. Meanwhile, a snowball out from WDR onto Double A shot. Gonna block the way from Giant. WDR is just doing everything. The sensibility is gonna keep going in now for Double A. Swash away, but the dagger is gonna be just enough damage from our Spectre. PSG, they had a bit of a scuffle down at the bot lane. They kind of messed up, but it looks like the top side of the map is still going very well.
They did drop their tier 1 tower here from the side of Pecado, so they're losing a little bit of control. Q might have to consider rotating to a different lane. They haven't quite lined up for a push on their side here as well, as they did pop the extra system for that failed fight bot. So it's going to take some time to even out map control. You are getting that done really well with Giant, and the NP can now start to invade that jungle a bit, just keep farming the top wave. Q can still hold out with a level advantage, but you really want to get the blade mail up now so you can transition to that jungle.
Oh, P1, he's stealing all these stacks away that were meant for Speed. This is not what you like to see if you're a gyrocopter, and now the rotations are in P1. He's got the haste going onto Albino Zebra. They'll drop the call down, but Albino Zebra is gone. Speed, he's just going to hide behind the tier 1 tower now and just make sure he doesn't die. But like I said, they took all his stacks. P1 even gets his courier now, and you can see PSG how confident they feel across the map. Even with their draft looking a bit more like a mid to late game draft, they can just do whatever they want, it seems.
Yeah, and they're playing really well with the supports. It's down to how active WDR and Sensibility are. They're just not afraid to show up. They're always willing to throw their spells out. They know they've got really good burst damage on hand even before the level 6 mark. And the side of Eboys, they can't really respond. They've got some levels up here. Red's level 8. Blink Dagger is still being worked on. It's still a ways off. Double A is also waiting for his level 6. So these supports on the side of Eboys really need to hit their level spikes to have that big impact that you're seeing here from PSG. And they finally get the space to push that bot tier 1. So you're evening out map control. There's a safe spot on the map now for Q to kind of farm up. And there's just a little bit less control out for Eboys. So it's evening out a bit. Speed is now in the jungle though, and that is giving him a little bit more. Even though he missed out on a couple of stacks, he's in a very safe spot of the map in the triangle. Whereas for Q, he's trying to clear out some stacks. Without the blade mail, it's just not as speedy as a gyrocopter's farm.
Oh, top lane, Giant. There's your Fiend's Grip out. Into the zip, and that'll be Giant gone. Another nice rotation in from PSG. Just all over the map. That's one thing you want to see from a Pos 5 Bane every single time, is just getting that Fiend's Grip on cooldown ASAP and trying to abuse it as much as possible throughout this game. Now Red needs to be careful. I mean, they still have the Nightmare to set up, but he's going to be able to back off on the Tiny.
Well, just protected here by the presence of his supports as well in the back line. Even Speed is down mid. They've got the Chaotic Offering ready on Albino Zebra, so they can get the Fatal Bonds off and drop the Golem. That could be a massive amount of damage. You've got a lot in AoE, not just the Gyrocopter, Tiny Avalanche as well. It's going to be amped up by the Bonds. Swashbuckle is going to be amped up by the Fatal Bonds. So you are hitting some power spikes here for Eboys to play with. They just have to use that spell, and it looks like they are grouping up for a smoke.
Red up towards the top side, knows the Spectre's around there somewhere. Q just innocently farming up, not expecting anything in the Tiny. Slowly going to make his way over Q. The outpost does break the smoke, and they won't find the opening. Q's going to be just fine. Bit of wasted time there for Red. It's a bit unfortunate as well because he doesn't have that blink up yet, and you kind of just, at this point you say, screw it. I'm just going to go farm up this blink before I try to make that rotation again. No real point trying to walk up to the Spectre. It's going to be a little bit too difficult to catch her out.
Yeah, I'm a bit curious why. They smoked up this tree, but Albino Zebra just stood mid. They didn't have the option of just dropping Chaotic Offering as they saw the spec. I think that's a worthwhile trade. Even though you're not necessarily taking tower after dropping the golem or taking a bigger team fight, you just want to use the stall. It's like Lion Finger. You just want to start to either get some kills or get some towers. But a golem, and right now you're not quite finding it. So we're seeing a bit of a stall out in the Warlock. I think the other Warlock game we saw had the same issue. They might get some good catch-outs now, though. WDR?
I love what WDR is doing. He's just always around speed, soaking XP away and just being a nuisance overall. And with that speed, it's just about to hit level 9. But you look at the Storm, level 10. Even our Spectre's about to hit level 10. But WDR has just been a real nuisance. His top lane, they got another Fiend's Grip. Sensibility. Right off cooldown, he'll find Giant again.
Yeah, and it's a difference in the supports once more. Pause 5 of PSG, Sensibility, not afraid to use his spell, finding those pickoffs, setting up for his team, and going deep for these D-wards. Whereas for Eboys, it's a bit slower here for Albino Zebra. They're just trying to protect speed as much as possible. Their priority is to get the gyro farm up, so they're not really as aggressive as 5. And you know, when you go for maxing out Fatal Bonds over Upheaval, you kind of want to just maximize that spell, get your damage output up. Perhaps they go now with another smoke up. This time around, Albino Zebra will join them.
They're going to try. WDR, he's the closest target down towards the south side, but they want to go after Duffy, it seems, on the DP. Of course, they'd rather Q if they could. And they are going to see Q now, but I'm not sure if they can kill him in time. He's got the Blade Mail already up, and he sees them. Red's trying to get in range. He'll get the Avalanche Toss and the Golem Drop with the Rolling Thunder, but Q is fine. He is perfectly fine as Albino Zebra now going to be chased down. There goes Red. And Q is still alive as Albino's going to try and chase him down with the Shadow Word. It is not going to work out. Double A's gone as well. And that's going to feel really bad. You used everything you had and you just could not get the Spectre. And we're only 14 minutes into the game. Imagine what happens later on.
Yeah, they throw everything out. I don't think it's too bad to throw the Golem out there. It just felt like there was a lot of hesitation. Maybe they didn't have enough vision in that. It was daytime, so it felt like they should have had enough to catch a Spectre and just immediately commit. And it's just going to cause Eboys now to take a backseat. You also didn't see the rotation out there from Giant. Looked like he didn't have his teleportation up. So you were down a man when you really want everyone to be up and running to commit their spells, to commit some damage on. And it just didn't line up. You do, however, have the Blink now for Red 2. That could help, but now you have to wait for the Chaotic Offering if you want to go for those big fights again.
Well, that was the one thing I was going to point out, John. He was 100 gold off the Blink Dagger when they went in. I was kind of like, why'd you go? If you were 100 gold off, there's now Sensibility. He's found the Warlock, and Albino Zebra is going to die. Sensibility, he's got Fiend's Grip again. So I think they want to fight. And we've seen him very, very good at positioning himself to get a nice Fiend's Grip going. In fact, Red 2 now going to be fine. He has some teammates around. Not using the Blink to try and catch up the Bane. I don't think he quite saw him. Instead, he'll go up to WDR, but now the zip in. P1 will want to go for this fight with the Orchid up on the Storm. Giant's going to TP in as well, but Red, he might just be dead as the Snowball flies in and gets the kill. WDR does fall in the end. But PSG, they are making their way out of there. And in fact, they're going to make their way back in now as P1 goes in onto Giant and the Prophet. He's just not tanky at all. Q now going into the mid lane speed. Blade Mail is active. He tries to go for the Rocket Barrage, but it is not working out in his favor. He's going to die. And it's just one of those other things, right, with the Spectre. You have Blade Mail, so once you see Rocket Barrage being popped, you can just use that Blade Mail, and he can't cancel the Rocket Barrage.
No. It's very tough with the Red.
Yeah, he might find Duffy here, and does. Bit of good news here for Electronic Boys.
Yeah, it's something. It's not the best feeling kill. You kill the offlaner off. You lost your big core in the Gyrocopter. You really need a lot more here on speed. And you can just see PSG, they just play around their spells a lot better. They play with Haunt. They play with, in fact, they only used Haunt. They didn't have to pop the Grip again. They didn't have to pop anything else big. Exorcism still ready to go. Eboys, this is their time to look to fight if they want to. They've got the Golem drop ready. They've still got this amazing blink timing from Red. He can still do a lot of work at this point in the game. You need to just keep playing with it. So Albino Zebra is getting some good D wards off on the triangle, maintaining control of that farming spot. Gonna be really hard to find this low ground ward from the side of Pecado Squad Gaming though, and that is going to allow them to still get those aggressive rotations off. They can also just take the backseat, keep having Q farm up, wait for the next haunt. No pressure here on PSG to use their spells at the moment. There is another smoke out as Tree here from Eboys, and we'll see if they can find something once more.
Speed needs help. Sensibility, Duffy going to go for the Exorcism. How do they cancel? They do in the end with the Orchid up on the NP. Exorcism still going. Sensibility is going to die. Duffy has been left alone, or maybe not. His team slowly making their way over, but not fast enough. Electronic boys, 2 very nice kills for themselves. For Pecado, I guess with the Haunt not up, you don't really want to go.
No, you just be patient, wait for the Haunt to be back up and running. You also popped Exorcism there from your DP. A bit optimistic, not respecting perhaps the NP TPing in. And also not expecting that Orchid timing from Giant. So Giant making good use of that item reveal. Do have Sensibility trying to regain control in that jungle, but there are some good wards here. They could spot him out.
He's underneath the Sentry Ward, and he realizes that now Speed is going to hit him. No, don't go for that Shadow Emblem, sir. He did not realize the Sentry Ward's there. Does end up paying for it in the end. Red now looking at WDR. Not going to find him. We'll see P1 instead. Avalanche Toss is there, but he does not have the damage output. Giant's going to come in with the Orchid. With Speed, the Golden drop is going to be enough. They get the Storm. WDR now in trouble as well. He'll drop. And you know what, John Eboys, they might be making a comeback as Duffy's been caught. Rolling Thunder, AA, is he going to make it in time? No, he doesn't have a blink up. But they are finding some successful team fights here, boys.
Yep, they're splitting up PSG. PSG's coming in one by one. Their supports are just not in a good position now. Really good aggressive wards coming through here from Eboys. They do manage to catch out Red, but there's no follow-up without the Storm up.
Yeah, Sensibility. They have Dust. Not quite. They put a Sentry down, but the Shadow Amulet going to keep him safe. Now into a Fiend's Grip again with the Shadow Amulet. They cannot cancel it. And Red 2, he went way too far in for that kill attempt. With the Tiny gone, P1, he wants to go for more as he jumps right in onto Speed. Speed has Albino Zebra around, and he's going to heal him up. But that'll be your Warlock dead, and they could still try for the Gyros. The Snowball is going to fly through. Call down is there, but WDR is on point with the Shards, but no tag team. In fact, there was, but the damage wasn't there. Speed is still trying to fight, but eventually will die. And now Giant, look at the damage output on the poor Prophet. He'll drop. AA getting pulled in by P1. Orchid there again, and they have the damage. A full team wipe.
Yeah, it's a back and forth one. A while ago, PSG were streaming in one by one. This time around, Eboys just overstaying their welcome in the jungle, feeling a bit too secure with the obs wards they've got on hand in that jungle, and they don't respect the jump power of that Storm and the patience coming through from PSG. So as long as they've got the numbers on PSG, as long as they're going in as 3 or 4 heroes, it feels a lot better. As a duo, it's not quite there because of how fast Eboys can get back up with the NP and with how disciplined they have been with staying around with speed. So they need to respect the power from PSG as well. It's only a 2k lead with a 10 to 20 depth kill board score right now. It's not too big of a difference considering how active this game is. You are still number 1 with a farm here on speed. Gyrocopter is still basically free farming the jungle. Already has the Ags up, of course. BKB should follow. And then into the Maelstrom. So you're hitting some really good item spikes to get your damage output up, and we can see what happens when Speed's around with a really good Fatal Bonds from Albino Zebra. The damage splash is just ridiculous. Flak gets amped up, Call Down, Rocket Barrage, all of it really just enables you to burst down these heroes on PSG. They just need to keep playing around a clump up, and keep playing around the golem. Of course, Albino Zebra's at level 11, so they might want to wait for level 12 to have the upgraded golem, just to have a little bit more in hand with a summon, but wouldn't be too surprised if they wanted to try forcing an issue. Still have to worry about the Haunt being backed up for Q though, so if they do commit, Q can just show up and kind of try to turn that fight on its head here.
Well, for now, both teams are just going to sit back and farm a bit. You do see the smoke being brought out by Sensibility. Maybe they do end up popping a smoke and trying to abuse that Fiend's Grip again. Eboys, though, they are also grouped up, and they have a blink up on double A now. It might be time for them to go for a smoke, and they do. Into the Dire jungle they go. It's like PSG might be aware of this. Be not Q. Will back off. Instead, they do find out the Bane, and they will try to just burst him down. Sensibility, he will pop the Glimmer and try to be as annoying as possible. But in the end, he is going to die. Still, I suppose if anyone was going to die, you'd rather it be the +5 Bane.
Yeah, it's a pretty alright kill to give away for PSG. You're trying to save up for the blink here on your Tusk, and you're about to get it. So, Eboys with that 1 kill feel confident to try to go into the Roche. Really nice tight spot to maximize this Warlock. Albino Zebra has his Ag Shard as well. So you've got the AoE Shadow Word, a lot of sustain to take these fights, and the Roche does melt quite fast with the Tusk and Gyro.
Oh, zip in. That's going to kill double A off immediately. Speed now going to be in danger. The Golden Drop is there. The Roshan so down low. The Aegis is going to be taken by Red. They win out the team fight. Eboys are going to survive. Duffy, oh, he wanted a chase, but the Sprout is going to hold him in, and eventually he'll have to back off. Oh, that was a very close call there, but in the end, the Fatal Bonds, the Flat Cannon, everything being thrown out, it's just too much damage.
And the BKB use from Speed really saved his life there. Just having the Spell Immunity on hand takes away a ton of the damage out from PSG. They didn't have Sensibility around for the grip as well to pierce through. So you were missing some key tools there on the side of Pecado. They don't manage to turn the Roche fighter, and it looked like a really good zip. They got that one big kill from just zipping in, but wasn't enough to turn that fight around. And again, it was a really nice tight spot for Eboys to flex that Fatal Bonds. Works out really well with the Gyrocopter. Does pay off in a big way. You've got a 2k lead now on the side of Eboys. Which again, they are really starting to find that space here. Whereas for Pecado, they need a lot more on Q. He's lagging behind on the Spectre. 4k behind the Gyrocopter. You really just don't farm as fast as a Gyro. You don't clear out camps as quick, even with the Blade Mail. And Q needs a lot more. He's saving up for the Basher. Next, I think you're going to have to see perhaps a Heart, perhaps a Scotty up, just to get some stats going to really maximize your dispersion potential.
Yeah, I mean, the damage is just so high if you get Fatal Bonds into the Gyrocopter that I think you need everything you can get to try and survive that damage output. Obviously, being able to kind of reflect it back is going to be quite nice for the Spectre later on, but for now, you need a bit of an answer to it. Eboys, they're going to go towards the top side of the map and go for that tier 2 top tower now. It's like Pecado will do the exact same down to the bot lane. Trying to evenly trade, but Eboys will have enough time to come back and defend. If they want to. They may just go back to farming instead and just allow this bottom tier 2 to go, but no, Red is TPing in. They have been scattered out by the shards of WDR. Red, he's not going to be able to break the gap, but he does protect the tier 2.
Yeah, and I love this build-up here on Red. He's got the E-Blade up, so he just wants to absolutely burst any single hero on the side of Pecado. And Pecado, for their part, still don't have anything defensive. No Yules. They're really just relying on WDR to get some really good snowball saves with his Blink. There's a lot of pressure on Tusk to bail out his cores here until some of those BKBs start flying through. And we need to start seeing that built up. You are queuing it up on P1. He only has the Ogre Axe up, so he's 2 parts away. Still a long way to farm up for that Spell Immunity. And again, our Spectre is still waiting for the Basher. So you're going to be very vulnerable on the Spectre still. And Eboys can just keep playing a lot faster now. They're the ones who have this massive spike. They can take control of the map. They can dictate these engagements. And Pecado have to play very careful if they want to space this game out for the Spectre.
Double A. Rolling Thunder in onto an illusion. Very unfortunate there for Eboys.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Bottom tier 2 does finally drop. P1 does eventually get it on the Storm.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire are scanning for
And Speed's going straight into that Satanic now, and that's going to make it very, very difficult to deal with this Gyrocopter. How do you kill him after the Satanic? It's going to be tough.
I'd say
Oh, you got a Paladin
there's
Sword as
pressure
well.
on. There's a lot of pressure on Sensibility to get that done. Like, it's down to him using Enfeeble. He didn't max it out, of course, as you don't tend to, but now you need the levels to start going into your Bane, have that on the lower cooldown, have it ready for after the BKBs pop, and just try to mitigate some of the healing output on hand here from Eboys. Just really good on the Enfeeble, dropping it down to 60 at max, but you just don't have the levels up to sustain that spell spam yet.
Sensibility. He's going to have a look to see if he can find a target. He'll get a nice ward down to get some vision. He wards now. Red. Wrong Thunder. Is there double A? Go in. Glimmer Cape, Dust. They have everything, but the Snowball is going to save. And now the zip in. P1 going straight for the Warlock. But the Invis going to save the day for now. Albino, he can't get the Golem out in time. But they do at least kill the Bane. He's going to buy back immediately. Red is still going to fight with speed. They just man-fight everybody. They do not mind. Duffy, he is trying to survive the best he can. Meanwhile, Q does get double A, but Duffy is going real darn fast. He will get red, however, and now Giant is going to die. They'll turn back around onto speed, and that'll be the Gyrocopter. And Duffy, I thought he was dead the whole team fight, but the Spirit Ciphers just keep him up and running. And Eboys, they get wiped.
Yeah, it's they need a Warlock alive. Like, the positioning of Albino Zebra is really important. They need Fatal Bonds to go off. They need a Shadow Word AoE to keep flying up to keep them safe. Really ill-timed fight as well from Eboys. The Aegis expired in the middle of it, so they did not have that second life up on speed. And it's just very well timed from Pecado. They knew the Aegis was about to expire. They forced the issue. They managed to take out the big target in the Warlock first, preventing the team fight follow-up. Like, they need so much to happen with a Golem drop. They need a Fatal Bonds to amp up the damage. Without the Warlock around, a lot of the potential DPS of Eboys just drops out of thin air.
The very close matchup between these two teams.
the Radiant scan, eager to know Dire's whereabouts.
I Skadi queued up by Q as well, so that's going to negate a lot of the effects from this Gyrocopter's healing. That Satanic build-up and the Paladin Sword even. Make it a lot harder for him to be able to sustain himself in these team fights. And that might be about the time where you start to see a few more holes in the Gyrocopter.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like, from that last fight, Sensibility just hit level 15. Now with the Tome as well, hits 16. So you have max level Enfeeble up and running. That's a 60% reduction on healing and regen as long as the BKB isn't up. And Speed only has the BKB. It's down to 7 seconds as well. There is a smoke here from Eboys, though. They do still have the Golem.
Mid lane. They don't see anyone yet. It's like Pecado might be aware. In fact, they go for a counter smoke now. Duffy, bit of a bait, speed, homing missile is there, but now the zip in P1, he goes straight in after the Pango, Golem drop is there, but it may not be good enough. They've already got double A, Snowball in, they've got Albino Zebra, and they've got speed. Giant, he's trying to fight, but he cannot. Onto the Tiny, it's a full team wipe. It happens that darn quick, P1 with an ultra kill. And they made that team fight look very easy, John. No real contest there.
Yeah, it's just awkward for Eboys now. Like, as long as Sensibility isn't picked off first, if he sees the BKB on speed, he knows who to grip. Just holds down speed immediately. The Golem drop came first, so they had no way to interrupt safely, and it just fell apart from there. With that one team fight lost, Pecado now can look at the high ground. They've got a 7k lead on hand. They know there's no golem to worry about for the defense here as well, so some of the potential from Eboys is just taken away with that spell on cooldown, and it's going to be hard for them to defend these racks, if at all. The bot racks, the bot tier 3 is also exposed, so PSG can just swing down bot if they're feeling confident and try to go for another set of racks.
On the bright side, they can disarm with the swashbuckle lucky shot. P1 gonna zip right in. Albino gonna be safe with the Glimmer Cape for now. P1 is just eventually gonna zip out as well, and looks like PSG have had enough. They'll go for a reset. No need to rush. I think just based off that last team fight, they can feel quite confident that they are gonna outscale the Gyro, and I guess it also kind of goes back to Duffy having the Shiver's Guard up to negate even more healing from this Gyrocopter. And of course, once the Ice Guard is there, I mean, it's just going to be too much, I think.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, Speed is still trying to go on to the Satanic. It's not done yet. Even if it is done, you've got all the counter build-up on the side of Pecado. You've got the Scotty up as well now on Q, so his right clicks are also going to be mitigating some of that regen on hand. It's a lot of reduction. Enfeeble plus Scotty plus Shiva's Aura, just very hard, and every time Speed pops a BKB, he will be gripped. Like, Sensibility knows there's a big target in the back of Speed, and he's always aiming for him when he sees that golden aura. And they need some way to just jump him back line. The BKB here on red will allow him to hunt down the Bane if he tries to go for a cheeky grip. So you do have a way of saving your Gyrocopter now. You just have to be careful now.
Smoke up, Red. Gonna break the smoke, but zip in. P1 into the Tiny. Red's gonna be fine. He just BKBs up with the Avalanche Toss into the Bane, but he's still alive. Rolling Thunder now by AA, trying to control some heroes up, but the Shard's gonna block him in, and Red, he is still in danger. P1, he is gonna catch him out. They found Speed as well. Looks like a Fiend's Rip was committed for that. P1, he's gonna find AA in the end. It's almost another full team wipe. 4 down. Giant, he wasn't even in the team fight. He just let them die. So he could not really help out. PSG still looking very good here. It's time to clear out some towers and a Roshan.
Really well timed. Second rush of the game. Aegis Cheese free Ag Shard. Wondering who they'll give it to. It feels like it'd be really nice on P1. Just get more damage off. Of course, you can maybe go for it on the Spectre if you want to have that utility on the Dispersion. Just have a little mini way of haunting in. We'll see though. Looks like they do hand it off to Duffy. They're gonna have an additional Spirit Siphon charge, and it will have the fear if it's fully channeled true. So you have that option. No, they actually hand it to P1. All right. The Overload is up with the upgrade. You're gonna have the attacks. A little bit more damage coming through, a little bit more control, and Eboys have to be careful.
Yeah, very careful. Giant almost got hit by the Spectral Dagger of Q. Just kind of randomly threw it out. It's like Giant has been trying to split push with that Shards and the Nature's Prophet, but not quite as effective as he would hope, I'm sure. It's like Speed's gonna go back for the SNY build up now. Kind of feel like that part of the game where you might just say, screw it, let's go for a Divine Rapier. But apparently not quite yet for Eboys. They want the SNY first. They also smoke up in that mid lane. But they've got to somehow get back into their triangle. And right now PSG has it under control. So Red, he's going to jump in with the BKB. Onto the Bane. They want him down first. Sensibility going to Nightmare himself, but eventually does die. And they also found WDR, but now P1 is in with the Aghanim Scepter Vortex. Onto Speed and Giant. Golem was dropping. Albino, he's already dead, and Giant, he is dropping very, very fast. They will still try to fight the storm. He is dropping. Eventually should go down, but has the Aegis. And Q will be able to cheese up. They'll get Speed again. They found AA. Sensibility just straight up by his back. It looks like he wants Red. He's not going to find him. Red does run towards the north. But they can go high ground again. Speed has no buyback.
This is a really big opening for the side of Pecado. They know Golem's down once more. There's, again, very little high ground defense team fight. Without the Golem drop, they're basically relying on AoE damage with the Fatal Bonds, and they can just rip through the objective. They don't have Exorcism up. They've got enough right-click damage on hand that it's not going to be an issue. So 2 racks down, potentially more to come if they manage to swing around top. Really good snipe on the Courier from Red, though, taking out the Abyssal coming through. At least a recipe, so you're not going to have the full build-up here for Q. I don't think it's going to make a massive difference, so I mean, the tankiness the Abyssal gives you is pretty nice, but you're still really hard to deal with on that Spectre, and there's just not much to worry about. They're going to go for the last outer tower, and they can still set their eyes onto the high ground. They don't have Aegis and Cheese. There's a slight risk factor, but again, no Golem drop means no team fight for Eboys.
I mean, even with the golden drop, I'm not sure if that's proving to be enough here, John.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice, 1 second stun, but that's about it. It's all up to speed. The Fatal Bond's still going to be very helpful for sure, but there you go, speed. He's just queued up the Divine now. He's had enough. He knows there's no time for an SNY. It's Divine time.
Yep, it's going to be really helpful. At the very least, there's no evasion coming out
What is
here
this?
on the side of PSG.
What's Sensibility doing, John?
Camping. Sniping couriers, maybe? Or trying to catch someone out. They've got wards out.
I think he's in position to try and catch... Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, you didn't need a Fiend script it, and now he's going to pay for it as well, Red. He will come in. Nightmare is there, but Sensibility, you deserve to die here, sir. This is well deserved.
Oh,
P1 though, gonna vortex right in, and they also found Giant already. Red is in trouble. He'll BKB up. He's gonna run back to the fountain, but everyone is here. They snowball right into the fountain.
Oh.
Speed has died. WDR, he's gonna try and run. He will eventually go down. What is happening?
It's the biggest bait you've ever seen, Mike. Massive bait from Sensibility. Now, they do have Golem drop and won't force this fight, and they've got all these spots up.
Yep, but they found P1. That'll be a Storm dead. Duffy now just realizing he needs to TP out, but it's going to be cancelled off, and he'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Just run, sir. They do actually still have their Spectre alive, but he's busy. He's busy farming, I think.
Sensibility's back.
He's still there. He's still there. Sensibility. There's nothing sensible about what he's doing right now, John. He's out of his mind, this pain.
I don't know why he Fiend's gripped the Courier. He could have just right-click. I guess he didn't want to.
I'm pretty sure that was a BM move. I'm pretty sure, John.
Yeah, that's the only sense. But he keeps trying to go from mask to mask.
Oh, goodness me. Eboys, they're going to move on to the high ground. He's going to TP back now, Red. Looking for a toss back. Is he going to get it now? The Fiend's grip is there. P1 buys back. Zip in with a 4-man, 5-man vortex. Oh boy, P1. A 5-man vortex to finish off the game. I mean, I suppose that's one way to finish the game off, John. Pecado. Very confident finish.
Oh my god, that was that was quite the set of fights. Sensibility gripping the Courier and then baiting his team to go in. They find the kills, they force the buybacks, and they lose a couple of heroes, but they have the buybacks for the high ground, and P1 just closes out in style. Very well played from Pecado. There were some rocky moments there early on. You know, for a while it looked like Eboys were reaching a bit of a bounce back. Speed was getting some amazing damage off with his Warlock combination. It just fell flat. Like every time he BKB'd, Sensibility would get a very good position to get the Fiend's grip off, and suddenly there's no follow-up. There's no way for Eboys to break off the grip. Everyone else is on top. P1's just controlling the other supports, the other cores with control, and it just wasn't enough from Eboys. We'll see if they correct that, but Pecado Squad Gaming, very strong showing once more, and well, what a way to close out with that kind of set of fights.
With that, of course, we are going to move on to game 2. It is going to be a roughly 10-minute break, I believe, but after that 10 minutes, we'll be back with game number 2's draft. See you soon.